Mhm. There we go. Okay, guys, thanks for coming along again today. Like I say, this won't take too long. It's really one of the last parts of the active systems. Remember, we spoke about active and passive systems. This is one of the final ones, which is quite straightforward, which is fire hose reels, hydrants, and extinguishers. And I've padded it out a bit just to those of you, like people like John, who's not in the business, and people who are not consultants. I'm just going to go in a bit of the operation and extinguisher usage and the different types you've got. There's some John Gertz which is coming back in the room. So we go fire hose reels, fire hydrants, and first attack firefighting equipment, which is fire extinguishers. So fire hose reels first. Fire hose reels, they're normally located within 4 meters of an exit. When I say normally, it's because if there's an alternative solution in the building, you might not have a fire hose reel. And I could name a couple of buildings in Adelaide which don't have fire hose reels in them. Part of the alternative solution is to put extra extinguishers in on the floors, which we will talk about next week or the week after. They're 36 meters in length, so you can reach near enough anywhere on the floor, and they're designed so you can pull one out and one overlaps the other. They're normally located in a fire hose reel cabinet, and if they are, they've got to be marked with lettering fire hose reel cupboard in letters no less than 50 millimeters high, in contrast with a contrasting background. And that's actually in the building code. And the hose reels need to be neatly rolled and the nozzle in the interlock. And I'll show you the interlock now. Different types, you can see the hose reels there. They've got the instructions on how to use them. And these are the interlocks. There's two different sorts here. So there's one here which is a newer type. You can see the nozzle is locked behind that lever. And in here, there's like a horseshoe shape. So when you unwind it, the horseshoe comes off and the nozzle falls out. And when you push this one down, when you push the lever down, the nozzle will fall out. But pushing it down and open this nozzle will allow the flow of water. They found out years ago that some people pulled out a fire hose reel, got to the other end. It's just like your garden hose. You twist it, there's no water, simply because you haven't turned it off at the hose reel end. So this is a fail-safe device, really. So to get the nozzle out, you've got to literally turn the handle or push the lever down, which will then start the flow of water. Damn good us bombs, aren't we? We invented that. So you turn the valve, run out the hose, turn the nozzle's here, you turn it on, like say you can come out streaming or it can come out in a fan shape depending on how far you open your nozzle up. And then you aim the stream of water at the base of the fire. I would suggest if you've got to use a fire hose reel, you've got serious problems inside your building. I think that you should be out of there. So fire hydrants. These are all fire hydrants. There's many different ones. You see them inside buildings. They now, on the outside of buildings. And nowadays, they actually paint them pretty colours and things and make them look nice and put glass doors on the outside of the building, so they look good. There's a lot of them like that in Adelaide. And then you've got your normal standpipe ones here. They're normally in a building should have floor area of more than 500 meters square, and they're located as well in exits, fire exits on the outside. And that's why it's important that when you go down a fire exit, that you hold onto the handrail on the inside and go in single file, because the hydrants are normally on the outside and they're there for the fire service to use. And a building is built to keep you guys safe, and secondly, the fire service safe. And you'll have a maintenance tag. Hang on, let me go back. Sorry. Maintenance tags, just like the ones you find on fire extinguishers. So they're maintained at intervals throughout the year. And I can't remember the maintenance cycle, but I think it might be 6 months.
So Nick, that first photo, what are those little red bags?
Hang on, let me go, previous. Which one's that? These?
Yeah, there.
They're just what we call covers, just to stop the egress of stuff getting
Okay, thank you.
because birds and things can get inside. Yeah, and they might start building nests and what have you. Okay, so they're just blanks. So they've got to be taken off, obviously, before the water starts running. But you can't attach the fire hose reel, obviously, until you're taking that cover off. Okay. And tell me whether you can see this or not. Can you see that?
No, it's not snakes in a car. It's hose.
Can you see that, guys?
No. I can't, Nicholas.
No, you can't see it.
I can hear it, but not see a video.
You can. Right, let me just have a look a second. See whether I can just share it with you. Here we go. Now you see it. Have you got that? Can you see that now?
Yeah.
In a BMW.
The firefighters, did what they had to do.
They did it after arriving at a fire involving 3 apartment houses in East Boston. This BMW was blocking a hydrant, so firefighters smashed 2 windows and fed the hose through the car. It was a scene right out of the movie Backdraft. Firefighters can't thread the hose under or around the car because it's not very flexible and tends to kink, reducing the flow of water, which is exactly what happened to the hose stuck through the BMW. The car was parked so close to the hydrant that firemen dented it while hooking up, and then the hose kinked up. So firefighters and bystanders got together to move the BMW.
You literally bounce it, and they probably bounced it a good 1.5 feet out from the curb.
Meanwhile, the car itself became an attraction, and photos were tweeted out. Radio hosts chortled over the picture.
It's your feel-good moment of the morning.
It's definitely a feel-bad moment for the owner. The broken windows, the dent, the shame. And yes, Boston police have confirmed that they're mailing a $100 ticket to the owner of the BMW for illegally parking in front of a hydrant. This happens every once in a while, and it's been happening for decades. But whenever it happens, it's greeted with something approaching glee. This is what happens to the cars of morons who park in front of hydrants. The Toucher and Rich radio show got a text from a firefighter not involved in the Boston fire.
We all secretly pray for the chance to do what the brothers in Boston got to do with that Beamer last night. Classic. Good for you.
And though the spokesman for the Boston Fire Department kept saying,
We certainly didn't take any pleasure in doing this.
Online posters disagreed. As a former firefighter, we love doing this to jackasses. BMW equals break my window, park in front of a fire plug, and you'll risk getting hosed.
So there you go, guys. Top tip. Don't park in front of a fire hose. Don't park in front of a hydrant. Can you see that now, guys? Is that there?
Yep.
Good. Right. Well, right. So fire extinguishers then now. So this is a performance requirements inside the building code about fire extinguishers, and we'll talk about performance codes next week after next. So they must be installed to the degree necessary to allow occupants to safely undertake initial fire on a fire appropriate to the size of the compartment, the function and use of the building, and any further fire safety systems installed in the building and the hazard. Okay, so that means that engineers must put in what type of fire extinguishers, how many extinguishers, and the type of extinguishers which should be installed in buildings, depending on the hazard in that building. So obviously an aircraft hangar, you're going to have a massive fire extinguisher, probably something like a dry powder because you're going to have loads of fuel. In an office block, you probably have a smaller dry powder, CO2, and maybe a water. But a lot of times nowadays in office blocks, they go down to dry powder because they're used for near enough any type of fire. So that's the different extinguishers which we would normally see on the market. You've got, and they're identified by their coloured bands. So fire extinguishers are red all over, so you can see them. So you don't want your bosses putting plant pots up in front of them. They've been able to see, you can see, and they've got color-coded bands on them to say what type of agent is inside that extinguisher. And it's very important that you can identify what agent is inside the extinguisher before you use it. If you don't know what agent is inside the extinguisher by the color-coded band, I would suggest you don't even bother touching it, because you can make the fire a lot worse. For example, this one here has just got purely water in it. And if you go towards deep fat fryer, you're going to end up making a mini volcano in your kitchen, okay? Foam is blue. They're normally in carports. They're good for, they smother. They're good for fuel fires. So you go across stop the fuel, and you see that in airport fire trucks and things. They've just got massive amounts of foam. Dry chemical powder here, you've got two types. You've got BE and ABE. They both operate the same things, apart from one of them is better used for deep fat fryers, and the other one is better used for A-class fryers, which is your solids. Okay, but ABE is normally the choice of the day. And then you've got carbon dioxide extinguishers identified with the black band, and a wet chemical one, which you normally see in kitchens, because they are predominantly used for deep fat fryer fires. Okay, but like I say, if you don't know what agent's inside that extinguisher, or you don't know how to operate that extinguisher, even if you've got to go up and read the label of how to operate that extinguisher, I'd suggest you're doing the wrong thing, and you should be getting out of that building and lead it to the professionals. The fire extinguisher signs, if you noticed on that first slide I showed you, it had with the hose reel in it, had fire hose reel and extinguisher, and it had this fire extinguisher sign on it. That's an international recognized sign for a fire extinguisher. You can then have them identified at each extinguisher what type they are, which is normally on the walls at the back of them. And here you see a bog standard extinguisher. You've got the safety pin in there, you've got the operating handle, you've got the carry handle. If you take that safety pin out and break that tamper-proof tag, you will still be able to carry the extinguisher by this handle, because it's fixed to the extinguisher. If you push down on the top one, which is the lever, that opens up the valve, which then releases the agent. And it's stored under pressure, and you can see there the gauge there, and you can see the correct pressure. You can see when it's gone undercharged and when it's overcharged. So sometimes you have leaks inside there. There is an O-ring seal, and around here there's an O-ring seal as well. Sometimes they do leak. If they leak the inert gas out of them, then the extinguisher is not going to be any use if you need to use it, because you're not going to get the agent out. They are maintained every 6 months under AS 1851, but it's nothing stopping people like yourselves, when you walk past a fire extinguisher, just have a look at the gauge and see whether it's reading uppermost and in the green band. If you find it's going undercharged, you need to get hold of your maintenance people straight away and ask them to come and have a look at it. If you find that there is no safety pin in it, or that tamper-proof tag has been removed, again, you need to go and get your maintenance people in to have a look at it and bring it back up to spec. So there's 3 things there you need to look at, or advisable to look at, and that's your tamper-proof tag, make sure pin's not gone, and the gauge is reading uppermost in the green band. Here you see the use of it. You've got A class, B class, C class, D class, E class, and F class type of fires. Each one of them by the materials, type of materials. But A class is solids, liquids, gases, metal fires, electrical, and F class fires is cooking oils and fats. Something's been a pain to me. And if they've got a red line through them, it means you can't use that extinguisher on that classification of fire. Fire extinguishers look very simple to use, but actually they do take quite a bit of skill in using them. If you can manage to operate one, it's things like if you operate one on a deep fat fryer fire, you need to aim it at the base or the back of the pan, sorry. So then you're covering over fuel. If you go into the deep fat fire, because it's under pressure, you can literally lift the oil out of a pan, which causing a bigger fire. So you're best off, unless you're really skilled at it, you might as well just leave it for the professionals. Don't forget, extinguishers are in buildings, not just for occupants to use them, but for the fire service. And if you see on our diagrams we give out, they've got extinguishers where they're located on the floor. And that's for the fire service to look at as well when they come in, if they need to use extinguishers. The chief warden, the wardens there, sometimes they say, right, where have you extinguishers? What type have you got? So we train the wardens in the type of extinguishers. We do show them how to use them, but it's more important really that they know where the extinguishers are and what type they are. So then they can show someone else who's maybe more adept at using them. So how to use them: use the pass method, pull a pin, aim at the nozzle, base of the fire, squeeze the operating handle while holding the hose, and sweep the extinguishing agent from side to side at the base fire. Fire blankets, you normally find them in kitchens. They're quite simple. Again, they're maintained at regular intervals throughout the year. You've got the tabs here, which you literally just pull down and it breaks the bottom seal of this blanket. Pull it down, hold it over your hands, cover the flame, turn off the source of the heat and leave it until it's cooled down. If you're in your house and you've got a deep fat fryer fire and you put a blanket over the top of it, I'd suggest that you call the fire service and get them to sort it out. Because if you've got a deep fat fryer fire, it's very hot. The handles are designed to withstand heat of around about 300 degrees C maximum. Deep fat fryer normally burns about 700 to 1000 degrees C. Those handles are mighty hot. You could take it off the pan, off the stove, burn yourself, drop it, and you can cause a fire again. Thanks, guys. Any questions? Sure. So there's some, I'll send these links out, some links to operate fire hose reel and fire extinguishers. And next time with being performance requirements, fire engineering piece, performance requirements of buildings is maybe using alternative solutions to reach that performance requirement, National Construction Code, and we've got a few case studies going on as well. So next time it's going to be a bit more complex than normal. We're trying to make it easy as I can. Nathan Brown is helping me out on some bits and pieces on that to try and make it easier. Just trying to put it in layman's terms. But anyway, any questions on today on your hose reels extinguishers? Quite quick, quite simple one actually. And Brent is probably bored the hell out of you.
The other thing I mentioned, Nick, is about the fire blankets having the straps on the back of them, mate, so that when people go to use it, they can slip their hands up into the straps to place it over the burning pot or pan.
Yeah.
That'd be the only difference, mate. But yeah, that was great.
Yeah, grab the handles and you can roll the blanket round your handle to shield your hands from the heat and just place it. Don't throw it on the fire. Place it and pat it down. Take the heat away and leave it. Get the fire service round. Otherwise, you could burn your house down. Believe me.
That was great, mate. Thank you.
I like to say, don't attempt to use an extinguisher unless you know what agent's inside it.
Cool.
And if you get one for your house as well, Bunnings and all the rest of them sell them nice and cheaply. Normally, have a look for an ABE one because they're ideal for literally anywhere, and get yourself a fire blanket for the kitchen. But don't do what some people do and leave it for 10 years and then they go to use it and they find that there's no pressure inside it, or there's pressure inside it, but the agent won't come out because it's solidified. So you need to get it maintained. But best way of maintaining, you can actually, I wrote an article on it once in a magazine for the Hills. I'll send it on this thing. You can actually get your, because they're only about a kilogram, you can get them and you can just tumble them every so often and give them a bang with your fist, yeah, not with a hammer or anything, just give them a tap and just release the powder on the inside and you hear it flowing. and you'll be able to see whether it's pressurized as well. So just do that every so often and you should be okay. Or every 6 months or a year, they're only about $30. Ditch it and buy a new one. Well, it's cheaper and
Recycle first.
Hmm?
Recycle first.
Recycle, yeah, you can take it down a recycling place. Any questions, guys?
Just thank you again.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, guys, thanks for that.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank
See you later.
Thank
Good
you.
weekend.
See ya. And you guys, see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Stop your recording, Nick.
Thank you, Joanne.